Hello, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube. This is Badger Hat here, and today we are going to be talking about the Batman Who Laughs, his role in the upcoming story arc Dark Knight's Death Metal, his character history in general, and whether or not he's being overused in the comics. With all that being said, there will be spoiler alerts for the following story arcs: Dark Knight Metal, the prequel to Dark Knight's Death Metal, Batman Superman, the Batman Who Laughs, and the Hell Arisen story arc. So, fair warning on all of that. Spoilers are going to be ahead of this video. But if you want to skip ahead of all of that and to the point where I start talking about if he's being overused, timestamp down below in the description, follow it. It'll skip past everything all the way up to when I start talking about the Batman Who Laughs and if he's being overused. With all that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into it with the Batman Who Laughs origin story. Hmm. So, with the Batman Who Laughs origin story, we actually go to the Earth negative 22, which the negative 22 is actually reference to the Dark Multiverse. And in this universe, the worst case scenario always happens so the prime universes can live. And in this scenario, Joker captures Batman and lines a bunch of parents and kids up in an alleyway and starts killing the parents in front of Batman and giving the Joker toxin to kids, forever changing them. And this makes Batman go insane. He breaks free from the rope that he was in. He grabs a hold of the Joker and constantly yelling to stop. He breaks his neck, which releases a new Joker toxin from Joker, and it affects Batman. And that's where all this kind of starts rolling downhill. Because as we start seeing Batman change, he is acting very strange. He starts laughing at a lot of dark jokes, and he's even trying to correct himself. He's like telling himself, that's not funny. And we continue going until we see the Bat family all together in a training session. And in this training session, they realize that they're being pushed hard. And once when the training session is over, Batman brings them all together and he shows them that he's changing. And the whole Batman family is in shock and awe. And they're telling Batman, hey, we'll work together. We'll solve this. We'll bring the whole Justice League because we know you can be saved. And we know you can be figured out on why this poison is affecting you. And Batman just turns around and he just tells them, I knew you guys were going to be the first people to figure this out. So I had to do something. And as soon as he says that, he just pulls out two machine guns and starts killing all the Batman family. And it's just a wild moment because this is where you finally see Batman Who Laughs starting to come forward. And we fast forward to the Watchtower where Superman is just rushing to get there to see what is going on. He hears a lot of cries for help. And this is actually even shown in a different angle in the Batman Superman story arc. But going from there, we also see tons of dead Justice League members in the Watchtower. And Superman just goes to Batman and he says, why are you doing this? And Batman just turns around and you see that he has a big grin on his face. His cape is starting to turn colors. It's a complete transformation. And at that point, you even get to see what happened to his son Damian as a new Robin, more perverse Robin shows forward. And Batman brings out a black kryptonite that's been modified and it infects Superman. When he gets infected, Batman tells him, you know, I already tested this on Supergirl and she killed a lot of people before killing herself. And he brings in Lois Lane and their son, and it just forces Superman to go into an automatic rage and kill them, and then he ends up killing himself. Right? Then we flash forward even further, and we see that Batman pretty much killed the whole Earth. Like everyone's dead. He's sitting on a pile of bones, and it's even told that he was confronted by extraterrestrials like the Green Lantern Corps and others, and he just killed them all. So he's literally sitting on top of um, a throne of bones, literally, and he starts seeing his world fade away, and he's just laughing as it falls into the void. Unfortunately for everyone, he was picked up by Barbados, and Barbados is the main villain of the Metal story arc. And we're kind of going to just quickly talk about Metal because I really feel like this is a perfect thing to read. All right. And just so you know, if I forgot to mention, the whole origin story is referred to in the Batman Who Laughs one shot of Metal. Definitely worthwhile reading and picking up the books on it. The Barbados picks up Batman and he recruits him to basically be his herald and find other Batmen that need to be coming together to invade the Prime Universe. And what they're intending to do is bring the whole universe, the Prime Universe, down into darkness so they can suffer exactly what every other universe did there too. And they pretty much succeeded. Not entirely. They had the game plan. They eliminated, they brought down the whole heroes of Earth. They took out the basically the whole multiverse, or the whole Prime universe. But there was a moment where they all broke free from their cages. They gathered all the Justice League members from different dimensions and brought them all to the Prime universe to fight Barbados and stop them what was going on. And you even have sort of like an Age of Ultron moment where Batman Who Laughs pulls a trigger to bring the Earth down into darkness by just basically launching it into darkness. And it's a wild moment, but you have the Justice League and multiple versions of the Justice League coming together to fight Barbados. You have Batman and the Joker, of all people, coming together to fight the Batman Who Laughs and stop exactly what they were doing. And just at the brink of defeat, they were able to defeat the Batman Who Laughs and Barbados. Barbados gets pulled back down into the darkness. Batman Who Laughs disappears after a brutal fight with Batman and Joker. And that's it. They wrap it up and they just understand that, there's more business to tend to because Batman Who Laughs is still out there. And that's that's metal. That's the Batman Who Laughs origin story. That's metal. Strongly recommend reading it. It's a great read. And now we're going to continue on to the Batman Who Laughs miniseries. So now we jump into the Batman Who Laughs story arc. And in this story arc, Batman becomes infected by the Joker because Joker believes that the only way that Batman can defeat Batman Who Laughs is if he becomes Batman Who Laughs. We also see a bunch of Batman, or I should say Bruce Wayne, appearing all over the city dead. And it's clearly obvious that Batman Who Laughs is bringing all these Bruce Waynes from multiple universes and killing them. So, with that confrontation between Batman Who Laughs and Batman, Batman Who Laughs tells him, you're the worst Batman of all the universes. You failed miserably. And he also gives him the question, when was Batman at his happiest? And all that stuff gets answered there. We also get the introduction of the Grim Knight, considered the most dangerous Batman, who loves guns, doesn't have a problem killing anybody in brutal fashion, and he has an obsession with Jim Gordon and his son. And you later find out that Batman Who Laughs' goal is to actually infect everyone in Gotham with the same toxin that turns them into basically their most evil selves. And Batman needs to figure out how to solve it while going to Jim and his son to figure out how do you deal with the Grim Knight and Batman Who Laughs all at the same time. All this leads to a wild confrontation in a graveyard with Batman and Batman Who Laughs, which involves curb stomps, involves jaws being broken, tombstones being used as weapons, and guns, and everyone getting shot. It's wild. I mean, like the fact that neither of them die from their injuries in this battle. And then you have Batman, the Grim Knight, battling Jim Gordon and battling Jim Gordon's son to basically the death. Grim Knight just shoves him in the water that was being used to turn everyone evil. And it's a wild ending to it because at the very end of it, you actually see Jim Gordon walking down the street, and one of the guys says, "Hey, are you doing all right?" And you just hear Batman Who Laughs, or not Batman Who Laughs, but Jim Gordon chuckle and just say, "You know what? I've never been better." And you see the red eyes. Some other cool features that go on into this is that you also get to see how Batman Who Laughs sees through his visor and sees how he gets to see the dark energy of the world and sees where to go to pull Batman from this world. So it's a really cool story arc, and it's definitely another one that I strongly suggest because one, the fight in it is probably one of the most brutal fights I've ever seen, and it also kicks off into the next story arc of Batman Superman. So now we're jumping into the Batman Superman story arc, and in this story arc, Batman finds the Batman Who Laughs Batcave, And he's followed there by Superman, who just recently announced to the world that he is Superman. So people know that Clark Kent is now Superman. So he's a little bit more exposed than usual. But, anyways, they find the Batcave and they start investigating. And by the way, just so you know, Batman Who Laughs, he's locked up underneath the Hall of Justice right now. And when they start investigating, they find out that Batman Who Laughs has a message for him and that the Justice League has been infected. They don't know who, but they know that the Justice League is infected and they need to figure out who it is so they can find him and get help. And the first answer is given to them in Billy Batson, the Shazam. As he shows up, you can tell he's infected as a kid. And as soon as he yells Shazam, he's a much more perverse and twisted version of himself. So he's absolutely evil and he starts pummeling Batman and he starts pummeling Superman. They beat him down a little bit and they start investigating even more. We later get down to it that Batman Who Laughs is playing up his sleeve, but they need to figure out what it is. And they later go on to the Fortress of Solitude, where they meet the new villain group, the Secret Six. And the Secret Six has a whole host of members, but I want to keep that to its own right now because I want you guys to read it if you want to. It's really cool. But essentially, what goes on in this story arc is that the Secret Six here are trying to pull Batman Who Laughs Watchtower from his universe into the world because that's another way where they can just start infecting all the people on the planet. And they thwart this mission barely. And the thing is that once when everything gets figured out, people are like, wait, Batman and Superman knew people were infected and they didn't tell us? A lot of trust starts being broken between Batman and Superman and the whole Justice League. And it's made even worse when Wonder Woman gets involved because Wonder Woman now has to start dealing with the real superpowered villains. And you also get one shots of seeing how a lot of these villains got infected, or a lot of these heroes, I should say, got infected. It's a pretty wild ride, and it's absolutely worth a pickup because you get to see heroes that were once good turn. And it's really bad for a lot of people. Certain people get infected in one way, certain people get infected in another way, and they all react to it differently. You even get to see what happens to them as they start being infected and how Batman Who Laughs communicates with them. And it's really cool. Something I strongly recommend getting into. And that one there will be all part of the Batman Superman story arcs, along with the compilation of all the heroes one shots that show you how they got infected. All right. And I'm not going to go too much more into the Batman Superman because that does continue a little bit more after the whole Batman Superman versus Batman Who Laughs. But eventually, the final thing is that Batman Who Laughs gets freed and he starts taking over basically the world. And it's kind of a wild thing. So now we're going to jump into the Arisen story arc. And there's a lot to go into this. So this might take a little while to get through. So now getting into Arisen, which is the wrap up to Year the Villain. That was a very, very long story arc from Lex Luthor that started basically right after the events of Metal. And after the events of Metal, you had the No Justice story arc where you see all these heroes and villains teaming up, and Lex Luthor being one of them and getting a vision of doom and getting all these heroes together, all these villains together to basically save the world. And that leads into the New Justice story arc. With the New Justice, you have Justice League already formed, looking to figure out, how to solve all sorts of issues, trying to figure out what is going on with the world after they just accidentally broke it from the Metal story arc. Then you have Lex Luthor, who's now forming the Legion of Doom. And the reason why they're forming the Legion of Doom is because Lex Luthor, saw the future and he saw that Doom wins. He wants to make that happen. He wants to be there. He doesn't want to just see it in a dream. He wants to make it a reality for him and his timeline. And so, New Justice, very long story. Year the Villain is where you start seeing the introduction of Perpetua and seeing Lex Luthor, who now has all sorts of these new powers, giving them out to everyone. You get awesome story arcs like City of Bane going on with it. And all of them are just basically these villains receiving these gifts, these powers to deal with their opposition. So you have like Black Manta versus Aquaman, you have Cheetah versus Wonder Woman, so on and so forth. It's a whole lot going on. And I could go into a video of Year of the Villain itself, but we're going to cut that out because I just want to talk about Hell Arisen. And in Hell Arisen, Lex Luthor won, Perpetua won. They are now on their crash course to destiny, but there's a problem. Batman Who Laughs is still on Earth, and Perpetua knows she cannot have any dark energy in this whole universe. So I should say, she sends Lex Luthor and a group of her allies into battle with Batman Who Laughs. And when he gets there, he finds the Secret Six still around, except they're completely immune to Lex Luthor and his new powers. So he kind of has to drop back and attack them with what he knew before he became all powerful. And he was able to fight them and all that stuff, but then he realizes he cannot fight Batman Who Laughs. Batman Who Laughs would walk the floor with him. So he needs to start looking around, finding answers. And to kind of just skip ahead, he finds the answers in the most unlikely place, and that's in the Joker. Because Batman Who Laughs has the whole Justice League. He has all the heroes in the world basically infected with a few exceptions, and Lex Luthor cannot deal with him, and he can't go back to Perpetua without having Batman Who Laughs defeated. So he just goes there, he sees the Joker, he gets an answer from him. And the interesting about what Joker tells him is that you need to stop reaching so far. You think you're a cosmic deity and all this stuff, and you just keep on doing the wrong things because you keep on reaching. And that's why you always lose. You automatically reach out too far. And here's the interesting thing is that when Lex Luthor goes to talk to him about Batman Who Laughs, you can see Joker does not like talking about him. I mean, it's almost like that scene from Infinity Wars, or not Infinity Wars, Endgame, when you see Thor not wanting to hear about Thanos. This is basically the same reaction that Joker gets with Batman Who Laughs because, you know, Joker doesn't really hate a lot of heroes. He doesn't really hate a lot of villains, but he absolutely loathes Batman Who Laughs. He does not want anything to do with him. And he kind of gives him a hint of like, hey, what Joker is planning on doing because Lex Luthor wants to know. And he's not doing much, but it is going to play into James Tynion's Joker War that's even getting ready to come out too. But Batman Who Laughs has his whole army set up in front of the Hall of Justice, ready to fight Lex Luthor. After Lex Luthor gets the whole talk down from Joker, saying that you need to be Lex Luthor, not this cosmic deity's puppet, to go fight Batman Who Laughs. That's how you're going to beat him. And when Lex Luthor confronts Batman Who Laughs and his army, he just tells him, "I'm here to beat you." And Batman Who Laughs just says, "Okay, bring it." And he sends his whole army of infected heroes after Lex Luthor, who then gets backed up by every single villain together that was still left from the Year of the Villain story arc. And it's really cool because now you get to see villains and heroes fighting each other that are infected for the control of Earth. And the thing is that no one really can win on this one, in my personal opinion, because you have Batman Who Laughs. If he wins, then the whole world gets infected and we just continue. And then you have Lex Luthor, who's trying to win to take care of Batman Who Laughs, but then he's just going to immediately go back to what he was going to do later. And the thing is, and this is kind of a bummer, this is anticlimactic. You get to see the two go at each other, and it's like I was expecting pages upon pages of them just fighting and seeing like who's going to win, who's going to lose. And unfortunately, it's pretty anticlimactic. Instead, it's just a couple pages of them fighting each other, and then Lex Luthor infects Batman Who Laughs with a serum, which kind of sets him apart from everybody, and all the heroes start becoming free again. And they want to romp on Batman Who Laughs, but Lex Luthor just takes him in front of Perpetua because he has him captured, he has him beat. But Batman Who Laughs, that's exactly what he wanted to do. He wanted to be captured. He wanted to be taken in front of Perpetua because he had news from the Year of the Villain. And that news is that the Justice League is still out there and Lex Luthor has failed. And those two start getting into an argument in front of Perpetua. And this whole argument, basically, this whole ending is just basically who can argue better to a cosmic goddess. And with that being said, Batman Who Last won. So, like I said, I was pretty disappointed in it because I was like so excited, but also I'm not too hateful about it because the Hell Arisen story arc is just a wrap up to Year of the Villain. It's not a wrap up to Batman Who Laughs, and it's not a wrap up to Perpetua. But I was pretty disappointed. I was hoping to see some more action because that was a lot of build up. But I'm not going to be too hateful about it. And with this all being said, we are now going to jump into the final part. The question: is Batman Who Laughs being overused? Well, we're going to get the answer right now. So, with death metal being right around the corner, we've been getting a lot of questions, a lot of answers, along with really awesome artwork, and finding out that the death metal story arc is going to be extended because of the quarantine. And then the death metal story arc, we're going to have Perpetua and Batman Who Laughs together taking on the Justice League, and the Justice League having to step out of their comfort zone to deal with both threats. Because here's the thing: neither of them cannot be defeated. It's already been explained by Highfather that Perpetua needs to be defeated, and it's pretty obvious that Batman Who Laughs absolutely needs to be defeated. Neither of them can succeed because you have Perpetua, who's going to be an omniverse threat. If she gets what she wants, everything ends. Not a single thing. I mean, this is Thanos snap, obliterating everything to the very, very last atom. And then you have Batman Who Laughs, where if he wins, then the whole omniverse gets pulled into darkness. You cannot have any of that happen. So all of these need to be resolved immediately. And the best case scenario has to happen. There can be no ifs, ands, or buts. And that's the cool thing going into death metal, knowing that. So with the whole question of is Batman Who Laugh is being overused by DC, my simple answer to that is no. Because the whole thing is that sure, Hell Arisen wasn't that great of a story arc, or at least the ending wasn't that great in my personal opinion. But it wasn't the wrap up to Batman Who Laughs. It wasn't the wrap up to Perpetua. It was just a wrap up to Year of the Villain, Lex Luthor's wrap up from there. So, with all this being said, I don't think that it was a bad idea to bring Batman Who Laughs. He's been around since 2017 with the start of Metal, and he's been a key factor in all the story arcs that he's played, and it's been good. Like I said, Hell Arisen, the ending wasn't that great, but the story itself was absolutely great. I loved the story to it, and I think that with DC, they need to get the ending right for death metal. I think that this needs to be a good conclusion to Perpetua. I think it needs to be a good conclusion to the Batman Who Laughs, and the people that they have writing and drawing and all this stuff behind it. I think they're going to get the job done. I'm really excited to see it. So, with all that being said, guys, let me know what you guys think. Do you guys like Batman Who Laughs? Do you think that he's being overused? I really want to hear your thoughts because I think that's awesome. I really want to appreciate you guys and tell you how much I appreciate you for just sticking around and listening to me talk about this because this was a long way of me coming out and being able to do this. I've been through a lot of rough drafts, just talking, and I think that this is going to be fun. I really hope to see this channel improve because of all of that. If you guys enjoyed the content, please leave a like. Please share to your friends. Comment, tell me what's up. Why did you like it? What did you think? And I really hope that you guys subscribe and really show the whole effort being put towards it because I want to talk more and I really like this idea. So, again, guys, thank you so much for watching. Y'all take care, and I'm going to see you guys when I read Death Metal Part 1, and I'm going to be talking about it too. We're also going to be looking at suggestions as well. So, if you want to, tell me, hey, maybe I should talk about this, that, whatever, let me know. I really want to hear it. All right, guys, and I want to talk to you guys in the YouTube channel too. All right, guys, so y'all take care. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you soon. Bye.